Want to welcome everybody in. I'm going to make sure that we pin all the videos so you guys can see this amazing interview that we are about to do this morning. So we're going to give everybody a little bit of time, but as you are jumping on the live stream, just share with us where you're jumping on from, share with us what God has done for you this week. I got this amazing testimony from the Friday night that this person, they were struggling with eczema and varicose veins. And that was like a weird word of knowledge that I got concerning varicose veins. It's not something that I call out a lot. And she said the next day, these varicose veins, which she has struggled with for the last 28 years, she was able to see them shrink, and she was able to see the eczema skin begin to dry up and heal. So that is really amazing. So I see YouTube, you guys are on and going. I want to make sure that Facebook is live and they are seeing us well. Let me check with my team here and make sure we are good in the chat here. Yep, I want to be able to read your comments, so I'm not seeing them yet. I want to make sure that we are live. Yep, there come the messages. I want to make sure. All right, YouTube, let's see, make sure you guys are good. You are seeing everything as well. We've been flowing for the last 2 weeks. I don't know why it's acting silly right now, but this is the joy of technology. Yeah. All right, so I am going to check. Just give us a second. All right, we're good. We're live on Facebook. There it is. I know you guys have been asking. I already see the post. How do we access the live? So let's make sure it's posted in the group and everybody can see it. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Good morning. All right. We have Dr. Barry on. Okay, there comes Dr. Crawford. She is jumping into the live. So good. We're live on all the platforms. Go ahead and just give us a little bit of feedback. There we are. I see your comments now. I see you guys watching. Perfect. And we have both our panelists on. So we're going to get started in 1 more minute. I'm going to give everybody a minute to catch up, find the live. There you are. Make sure that they are, you're able to access it. Make sure that you are able to watch it because it's going to be amazing time. So good morning, Ingrid and Keisha and Vanessa, all of you guys. I see you guys jumping on. So what we're going to do today is I will share the bios of my co-panelists, really panelists. I'm not talking today. Today, it's all about them. They carry so much wisdom, so much experience. And today we really just wanted to talk about emotional wellness and what that looks like, because we've done a lot of the spiritual work, which I was thinking about this, emotional wellness is spiritual work, right? But these are believers and they're working in different parts of their field. And I just wanted to get them in here. So let me go ahead and start with the bios. I'm going to read the bios in a second, because they're not opening up for me. So it's just one of those mornings. It's Monday morning, I guess. So I could share with you guys their bios a little bit from the top of my head, because we went to school together. We spent a lot of time studying together, getting through subjects together, but I want to do them the right service because they've done such a phenomenal job building their companies and the work that they're doing. So I want to read it out. All right. I will start with Dr. Patrice Berry, and then I will go to Dr. Crawford, and then I will pin both of them on the screen, and we will go into our discussion. All right, here we are. Dr. Patrice Berry founded Four Rivers Psychological Services to continue to address the emotional, cognitive, and behavioral needs of children, teens, and families and adults in Fredericksburg, Virginia area. She has been providing therapeutic services in the Fredericksburg area since 2009. Many people ask about the meaning behind the business name, and the Four Rivers Psychological Services stands for the four types of services that Dr. Berry offers: therapy, psychological testing, coaching, and then public speaking or group trainings. In addition to traditional psychological services, she provides teletherapy, which is online counseling to anyone residing in Virginia, and online coaching for anyone and any individuals worldwide, which became so important when it came to the pandemic to be able to have that ability to do that. As a licensed clinical psychologist, Dr. Berry specializes in treating children, families, and adults with histories of trauma, adoption, depression, anxiety, and adjust life stage problems. She has over 15 years of experience working in a variety of treatment settings. She is passionate about supporting children, families, and adults in breaking familial generational patterns to bring holistic restoration and change outcomes for generations to come. She strives to listen to your unique issue and develop a plan to address your needs. She comes alongside you using a person-centered approach. Many of her children and adolescent clients just call her Miss Patrice, due to children often having fears about going to the doctor. I love that. Then we have Dr. Shannon Crawford. She's a licensed clinical psychologist, conference speaker, adjunct professor, podcast host, and innovator expert in restoring self-cohesion. Dr. Crawford, a California native and world traveler, earned her APA accredited degrees in clinical psychology from Regent University in Virginia Beach. Dr. Crawford is the CEO of Crawford Clinics, providing innovative psychotherapy services where she and her team provide specialized therapy, coaching, and consulting tailored to the needs of the client. As a lifelong learner and lover of people, she enjoys teaching as an adjunct professor at the King's University in Texas, serving on philanthropic boards and leading groups that foster faith, community, and service. As a woman of adventure with a love for culture, doors have opened, inviting her to share her inspiring and equipping message across the board. So I am so excited to bring these ladies on. I am going to add them to the screen, and I'm just ready to jump in and let you guys share. So we've read your bios, but I want you guys to kind of just share what you're currently working on, what you're passionate on right now, and then we'll go through some of our questions. So Dr. Patrice, you can start, and then Dr. Crawford.
Thank you so much. And
okay.
Am I good? Good. Yes. Thank you. It's such an honor to be here. And really, so the pandemic shifted everything. And that was when I launched my private practice. And now, because I also create content on social media. And so I developed drpatriceberry.com to separate. So I now am running two businesses. Mm-hmm. And really, it's being able to meet people where they are and really break stigma when it comes to mental health. Those are things that I'm really passionate about.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, and we can talk about that a little bit because that was phenomenal. Just your arrival on social media and then just all the amazing things that have happened with it. So I love it. Go ahead, Dr. Crawford. What are some of the things you're working on right now? Oh, go ahead and unmute for yourself. Yeah.
Thanks. My passion is working with executives and leaders. So I've been a clinical psychologist doing therapy in private practice for, 11 years or something. And we've developed our team. So Crawford Clinics, we have a ton of therapists and it's fantastic, a ton of marriage and family therapy and individual and all the things. So now I'm kind of stepping away and playing more as CEO for that. And then also branding as an executive coach. So having peak performance for leaders on the leader leadership side. So not business coaching, but the actual art of leadership through the restoring self-cohesion model. So that's my passion. I've been speaking quite a bit in that space, and then getting to work with a lot of executives, which is really fun.
I love that. And you talking a little bit about the restoring self-cohesion model. So that's one of the first things I wanted us to kind of just talk about when it comes to identity. Obviously, we've been on a whole summit about identity and purpose and healing your soul. Yeah. What is the restoring identity cohesion model, and what does that look like for a person who's trying to grow and heal?
Absolutely. So it's not reinventing the model. We're trying to create more of a synthesis between inner healing, freedom, pastoral counseling, clinical psychology, and create more of a hybrid. So then people can kind of have more of a holistic approach. So our premise is God made us in his image, which means in Genesis 1:26, let us make man in our image. We're supposed to have different parts. Like we have 11 different systems in our body, 78 organs, 100 billion neurons, and all of those have to learn how to collaborate. But when our soul and our spirit and our body are not in sync, whenever our soul man steps in front, which our soul is our mind, our will, and our emotions, which are tied to this realm, then I'm not leading from my spirit man in that area. And so our job is to do the inner assessment of where is my soul leading versus my spirit. And then now we can do the work. So that might look like internal family systems. That might look like EMDR. That might look like cognitive behavioral or psychodynamic. But we're assessing for what's going on at a macro level internally. And then when you teach your spirit how to lead in that area, now you're connected to the Holy Spirit. So you have vision, you have peace, you have joy, you have love, you have the fruit of the Spirit. And so things are more effortless. And so I work with a lot of executives that are like, man, I've just gotten like burnt out and it's tired and it's hard to have vision. And so my passion is disruptive leaders are godly leaders, that the people that are the forerunners and industry leaders are the people who know how to do the inner work. So they're leading from their spirit man and not just becoming lackadaisical and passive and becoming irrelevant, or striving and burning themselves out and also becoming irrelevant. So my passion is to put healthy people at the forefront of each industry.
I love that. I love that so much. So Dr. Berry, I was going to ask you about the book that I was aware of until I realized you wrote a recent book alongside your mom. First of all, I love your relationship with your mom. So if you feel led, I would love to just kind of hear what those dynamics have been about. And then you guys, is it a book or is it a workshop podcast that you guys developed? Tell me about that.
Yes. And so, it was nothing but God. So we scheduled to record healing mother and father wounds, because I think you covered it on Tuesday and we did our recording on Thursday. And my relationship with my mom has, especially my healing wounds with my dad and my mom, our relationship has always been close, but it really has gotten a lot tighter where we've been able to be more authentic. I've been able to give her some feedback, especially with me having my son. So I have a 5-year-old, because as a mom, I see my mom in a different way. And you really have a lot of empathy and compassion for all that's on moms. And so we have a podcast together where, and we've dropped it back to once a month because I've had a lot going on. We were recording weekly, but it really just has been a really great time. And so my book is Turning Crisis into Clarity, How to Survive or Thrive in the Midst of Uncertainty. And then we have the podcast.
Yeah. So let's talk about that. What are some ways, and then I'll throw the same question back to Dr. Crawford, that we can learn how to thrive in times of uncertainty. We came out of the pandemic. We don't know what's to come. We're getting ready to go into a new political cycle. What are some things that internally people need to have in place to be able to thrive no matter what season or no matter what's going on outside?
And I love how Dr. Crawford talked about the different systems that we have, because the first thing we have to do is make sure that we're not in survival mode, because the thoughts that we have and the things that we do in the midst of the storm, if you stay in that mode, because the way our brains want to keep us from pain, we are wired to kind of avoid pain and to avoid uncertainty. But we live in an incredibly uncertain world. And as believers, we're called to faith. And in order to have that faith, because so recently in our family, God is, because often I practice it first and then I teach it to my clients because in my own life, my husband has transitioned away from a secure like government job. And that was a big thing because I didn't realize how much of that security, like that good government insurance, I didn't realize how much of that really helped my brain settle. And so my own therapy was, so during that transition, I went back to talk with somebody that's neutral, because my mom could tell me something, my pastor could tell me something, my friends, but like when this neutral person says, gives you some general feedback, helps you find that core, and it can really confirm what God was already saying. And so being able to find because first you have to settle, because in the midst of the chaos, you can kind of get used to that and to things being just go, go, go. And then there are times when we have to push through that uncertainty. And launching my business, launching those businesses has been about leaning in to not knowing, leaning into that uncertainty.
I love that, leaning into not knowing. What are your thoughts, Dr. Crawford, about just surviving instability?
Absolutely. Thank you for asking. It's a great question. And Patrice, that was a beautiful answer. I love it. So my emphasis is progressive sanctification, which just is the fancy term for when I go through a crisis, it's showing me my hard drive, right? If I were a supercomputer, I'm good as long as all of my things are defragmented and there's no viruses. But in crisis, it's showing me the dross or the viruses inside. And so in the moment, I also go for sessions, just for the full record. Like, I love having someone to talk to outside of my roles where I'm the leader in all the areas. So having that safe place and also stepping back. So scaling back my schedule, knowing that I can't, as a supercomputer, run at the same level, and down regulating my central nervous system. That also includes not doing as much high intensity exercise, anything that's over stressing the adrenal system, which is that stress cortisol. And so down regulating that, taking times to be in nature, understimulated. A lot of times when we're stressed, we want to just watch TV and zone out and scroll social media instead of taking the time for my soul to have time to just kind of decompress. And then that gives an awareness of like, oh, me that's feeling anxious, me that's feeling scared. Yeah. What were the times that you felt scared before? What is this reminiscent of? And then you can start what I call an internal board meeting, where you're allowing different parts of you that are normally dormant and unexpressed. Now, when you're triggered, you're like, whoa, I feel really insecure. I feel really petty or jealous or competitive, or I feel like there's this orphan feeling like nothing's going to work out for me. Then that's a conversation. It's an invitation that I normally wouldn't have when life is stable. Yeah. And so through that, now we can upgrade and realize, oh, I've had a false comfort in XYZ, that now I can start to learn to release that. And my soul can learn how to be looking to Jesus for that need, instead of constantly looking for this external idol or source that I didn't realize I had until that crisis came up.
I love it. And it's interesting because, I think we live in a world where we want to avoid crisis as much as possible. And of course, you don't want to be the kind of person who creates it, but there is a beauty in that. If we are centered, if we have that stability, if we are looking to Jesus, it can actually help us grow. It can actually help us, increase our capacity in whatever area that the Lord has called us into. Both of you guys mentioned talking to other people. Dr. Patrice talked about a neutral person. I would love to know who are some significant peoples or the life of coaches, mentors, professors, pastors, whoever that have really been, or therapists, right, that have been really pivotal in your life. So Dr. Crawford, you can start, then Dr. Berry.
Okay. Oh my gosh, so many. I'm an extrovert, so I love processing and talking. So I don't have any shame feelings around it. So I have quite a few, actually. I do allow like inner circle, amazing friends. And I think obviously you have to be careful because people can have bias or jealousy or different things that you have to watch out for. So make sure it's people that are truly for you. I do emotion code. So I work with Christians that there's a protocol called by Dr. Bradley Nelson, and they use magnets to help called demagnetized trapped emotion. And at first that sounded really new age and weird to me. But as I processed, the Lord started just showing me just like the physics of how the body is stored. And when we have a trigger, that's trapped emotion. So I work with spirit-filled, strong Christian believers, and they do that protocol in me. And it's been really helpful because I'm a mercy exhorter. So I feel all the feels. And so then they get all dormant and then life happens and all the feels come right back up. So that's been really practical. I go to Dr. Burnley, and he does a lot of what Arthur Burke talks about of getting different parts of your spirit man back online. So in Isaiah and Revelation, it says you have the seven spirits of God that are before the throne. And so the emphasis is not just that we have many parts of the soul, but we also have many parts of our spirit man. And I kind of grew up with a very dominant parent figure. And so I realized when I get around dominant people, sometimes my personality shrinks. And so I've been working on bringing my prophetic and strong and dominant part of my personality forward instead of allowing that to shrink back. And so that's been really exciting because, you know, I go to church my whole life. I've never even heard about this. And I can feel the tangible difference of allowing those parts of my spirit to lead, where before my soul would go into people pleasing and performing and all the things that are just kind of natural in our human world that we don't have to live with. And then therapy and all kinds of great things. So yeah, those are the people that I tend to lean on.
I love that. I love that so much. How about you, Dr. Patrice?
So really, within the last COVID really gave me time to look at me. And I realized that I was a bit of a chameleon, which it helped me be able to fit into different spaces. But I needed to work on my core sense of self and being able to find authentic spaces for me, places where I could show up as my authentic self. Because even when getting together with friends from the past, we would kind of go back. We wouldn't come as ourselves now, like we would relate as we were back then. And just really being able to have authentic conversations about marriage, about motherhood, about just being a person. And those things have really just helped deepen my own personal journey, my own personal walk. And because like I said, like there were aspects of my personality where I could be kind of passive aggressive at times. And because I grew up in a very passive aggressive family where we joked but it could be mean. And so my husband was the one that actually gave me some feedback. He sat with some of my friends one time and he was like, y'all are, because we were kind of joking together, but he was like, that was mean. And so really my mom, my husband, one of my really good friends down in Florida, and then I read. I am an avid reader. So I do audiobooks because I have a bit of a processing issue where it takes longer. So it's easier for me to listen to a book than to read it. And even just leaning into the parts of me that so not trying to force myself to read a book. It's like, no, like audiobooks work for me. So I have the Audible subscription and it's great. And that's why it was important. Like anytime I release a book, I try to make it accessible and have audio versions because that really does work for me too. And so I am grateful not only to have spaces, but to have people that they can speak back to me and I can speak into their lives as well.
Love that.
I love that. So you guys are healers, but you have seen the importance of having people around you guys that can walk you through, can also help you, because nobody has it all together. No one, and no matter how much information you have, no matter how long you've been serving people, it's so important to have those key relationships around you. I love that. So Dr. Patrice, you started going into like one of my favorite words. You know, my passion is all about discovering who God made you to be, identity and purpose. And at the core of that is authenticity, right? Not just becoming someone who does something for God or with God, but authentically living out who God called you to be. And I've shared with the students and those who are part of the summit, just kind of my journey, because I always say that's one of the hardest things you're ever going to have to do, which is being your authentic self. I would love to hear just your thoughts in general. It could be personal, or as you work with people around authenticity, what has helped you, or even how do you help people get to their authentic core and just kind of stay there? So Dr. Berry, you can go, and then Dr. Crawford.
For me, it started with vulnerability. And Brene Brown's work on vulnerability changed myself, because especially as a Black woman, I didn't feel I could be vulnerable. And she released a book because some people have criticized her work. I have found it to be incredibly helpful for myself. I know I can't be vulnerable in every situation, in every setting, but just being able to show up and be vulnerable. So to me, it takes vulnerability for me to, if I need some help from my husband, to be able to say like, hey, can you help me with this? Because sometimes there was this perception. So I come off as a very strong, no, like that will have a person be tired. And so I need help. I need support. I need relationships. And it took vulnerability to be able to say that.